You're listening to the Kate Daly Show. Our problem is that we just want to follow Jesus, but we also want to slap people. Dilemmas. The show starts now.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded. So let us say, government by the retarded, for the retarded, of the retarded.
Oh my God, they said the coronavirus is coming. I gotta get the gloves and soap. I gotta get the gloves and soap. I gotta sing happy birthday while washing my hands for 20 seconds. Whose birthday is it? They said the coronavirus is coming. I gotta get the gloves and soap. Oh my God. Oh my God. Are there germs in here? How do I drive? Oh my God. They said the coronavirus is coming. I gotta get the gloves and the soap. Oh my God.
I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke. When I grow up, I want to be hired based on what I look like rather than my skills.
I want to be judged
By my political beliefs, I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up, I want to be offended
by my coworkers
and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long. When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder
just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist. I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
If there's any young girls here tonight, you get you a good hunter and a gatherer. I mean it. You don't want somebody that you got 10 to. I dated some of those. I dated a boy that had hair down to here, and he was an artist. He kind of looked like my sister. And he was pretty cute, and he did not own a car. He had a bicycle and had a sticker on it that said "Burn fat, not oil." And we were riding around in my car, and he said, if we get married, I think I'd like to stay home with the children, and you can make the living. And I said, it's over.
All right. Welcome. Kate Daly Show at your service. I don't know which one of those was funnier. The woke commercial, Leanne, our country's retarded, or the COVID fear. I did a post on Facebook today, and it was all about the COVID nonsense when the doctors were finally, some of them, because I lost all faith. It was really hard to witness. Still is to this day, this utter stupidity, but that prevails in our hospitals. But just saying that, maybe we shouldn't rush to go put somebody on a ventilator, meaning like maybe we shouldn't convince them. And the idea behind that is if they can talk, you don't put them on a ventilator. Anyway, too much common sense, I guess. So I was throwing it out there as far as like a comment, because today's some random things that I think are all important that I want to point out today, some insights for you. And you can also text in 435 is the area code. I'm in Utah. So 435, and then it's 680-2503. The number's on the bottom of the screen if you're watching live. 435-680-2503. Okay, so I should say 03 to be correct, right? Okay, so the COVID thing, I put out there, I said, did anyone learn anything? Do you think did anyone around you, like, give me a number, give me amount of people that learned something from what happened in 2020, the lies that were told, and the lack of common sense, and the utter stupidity over the masks, and the money going to the hospitals for claiming COVID, and the 6 feet apart nonsense, and this and that, like all the crap, right? The shots, the fake variants, the all of it. did anything come of it? Has anyone learned anything? Do you know anyone that's learned, like they went hook, line, and sinker for all of it, and then now they're going, wow, I really fell for that? Do you know anyone like that? Or are these people still sort of absorbed into the, "Whew, we dodged a bullet, we didn't get that COVID that was that was after us"? I'm just wondering, because I want to say that we've learned something. I want to say that something has come out of the incessant lying, and the government telling the hospital administrators, telling the doctors what to do. And I would have had more faith in the system if I would have seen doctors and nurses that even questioned what was happening, or even did the slightest bit of research or homework, or wondered why they wanted to give us remdesivir and who owned it and who was profiting off of it, Fauci, and all of that. Did we learn anything? Were people's eyes open to at least the vax program? Did we, the whole entire thing, the whole entire vax program, not just the COVID shots, but everything? And why we have rampant cancer happening in our youth now since the shots, and how they're blaming smoking. Yeah, okay. And that's, smoking's been going on a long time. So what's the deal? Have we learned anything? Do you know of anybody? Do you know people that, can you count? Is there like 5 people in your life that hook, line, and sinkered it into COVID, stayed home, wore the mask 6 feet apart, did all the crap and the nonsense, believed CNN, believed Fox News, because they were all spreading the same lie? And then now in 2026, February the 10th, 2026, can honestly look back and go, I was had. That's what I want to know. So if anyone wants to let me know that, you can email me, kate@katedalleyradio.com, or you can text the texting line 435-680-2503, or comment here on X, Rumble, and YouTube, because I'm live. I just, I got to have some faith in humankind, right? Because the doctors tell you eggs causes cholesterol. It does not. Eggs cause cholesterol, I should say. They do not. And that you should go on a salt-free diet. No, go on salt. Salt's good. All of the disturbing things lies we get told and we believe from the medical cabal. It's so asinine and so crazy that I sometimes I don't know what to say to it, because it's mind numbing is what it is. And I still have PTSD when I walk in the hospital because of what happened with my husband, still to this day. When I'm visiting family members, I still feel those feelings of, oh my gosh, my hospital wants to kill my family, my husband. So yeah, it's tough. It's been a tough one for me. And I didn't think, I always knew that we had to fight the deep state on what they were doing, the people that are actually running the country. Okay. I just didn't think we'd have to fight our neighbors and our friends that are in the medical industries. I just didn't think we'd have to do that. And they lied to you. The hospitals weren't full. They had dancing doc videos for a reason. All of that we suffered through, that from day one on this show, we were saying it's a farce. This is not what you think it is. This is a big fat lie. So hopefully there's at least, is 5 too optimistic, do you think? Is there 5 people in your inner circle that finally figured it out? That went hook, line, and sinker? Is there at least 5? I want to think that there is. Please, there has to be. Okay. I also wanted to mention, people are asking me right now, because it's winter and people tend to get, sick. And if you have anything bacterial, because how I feel about virus, but bacterial, and they might need an antibiotic. Okay. And they want to go that route. allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. Okay, it's on the ticker on the bottom of the screen, but allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. I think having antibiotics around, if you ever needed one, and if you wanted them for bartering purposes later on and have physical, tangible product in your possession, you can get it without a doctor sent to your door. And I would really tell you to have that on hand. If there's supplies that you do, like with diabetes or anything like that, instead of shoring up the pharmacies locally, go through allfamilypharmacy.com, because it helps me and it helps the show and it helps me stay on the air, and it gets sent to your door within like 5 days. And it's so cool. It's such a great system because they have doctors in-house that write the scripts, and they're scripts and they get sent to you. And it's such an easy process. So allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate for those things. Okay. There's a lot of natural ways to go about it. And I firmly believe in going natural. But if you need those things, you're getting those things already, or you want them because you don't want to find a doctor that'll write you multiple scripts, go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. Okay. The link is on the website, katedalleyradio.com. If you ever can't remember one of the links or whatever, katedalleyradio.com. So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about on my list. And I want to talk about Epstein for just a moment. There's a couple of clips I want to play from Epstein. Okay. Now, he was doing the Santa Fe, whatchamacallit, Institute or whatever, but I have a feeling we don't really know what was going on in there. Okay. I have a feeling we don't know a lot of things that were going on in Epstein's world, but there is something about listening to what they talk about to understand what they're interested in, to understand what could or might be going on. Okay. So this is what he talked about with radio waves. Okay. And I just want to play this because he has this fascination with this, which means that I would imagine that a lot of these weirdo creeps have this sort of fascination with what's happening in, with this particular thing. I would imagine that they're studying this for a reason, and his interest is there for a reason. Here we go.
To a bat,
Epstein.
Because we have light that's bouncing off the table into our eyes, it appears solid. If instead of eyes that responded to wavelengths of visual light, our eyes responded to radio waves, the radio frequencies, it's not different, it's the same type of frequency as light, but different speeds, the table's invisible. We know that our phone works in this room. So the waves are coming through the windows, the waves are coming through the walls. So the walls are invisible to that type of radiation, that type of energy. The walls are, I can see them because my eyes, a physical system determines that the walls are there.
You, with Murray Gell-Mann, you founded, or were the original donor, and had the idea of Santa Fe Institute. In 10 or 15 years later, that effort to study the complexity of systems mathematically.
Yes.
Was
it's a total failure. Yeah.
A total failure.
Total failure.
Why is that?
It's the failure of science because, in fact...
Okay. He's going to talk about, so I didn't cut him off on purpose. There's the next thing that he talks about. So that's kind of telling. They're very, very interested in that. Okay. They also like to play God, and they also like to do a lot of things. And I think they're a Satanist club. But I did want to bring that up because he concentrates on this a lot. If you would notice, Epstein, their fascination, their curiosity in studying us as lab rats and in studying things like lab rats. Okay. So whenever I'm listening, I'm always feeling like I'm part of their experiment in some way, somehow, or there's children that are part of their experiment or people that are part of their experiment. So here is Epstein on, let me go here, on women. This is weird because I want to see if you guys pick up on something that he says in here. Okay, you ready? This is Epstein again.
It's the failure of science because, in fact, if to some extent science doesn't describe romance, I don't know why I'm attracted to somebody. I don't know
why I'm attracted to somebody. Why didn't you just say women? Could he mean children? I don't know why I'm attracted to somebody. It's weird.
People are attracted to each other, and everyone has the same feeling. They've seen someone walk in the room and they said, oh, that person gives me a creepy feeling.
Isn't it interesting that he went right to creepy feeling right after he said attracted to somebody? Is he explaining himself? That was weird, right? Now all of a sudden he's on creepy feeling. He goes from attraction to creepy feeling super fast. That was weird. That was weird, you guys.
Science has tried to describe, science doesn't describe what creepy feelings means. They just know it's a creepy feeling. I think women.
You know, it's funny because when I talk about attraction, like attraction to my husband, I don't automatically think creepy feeling. Do you? Do you think like they're joined at the hip? Okay, here we go.
I think women, as I said the last time, have an intuitive sense. What is intuitive? They have intuition, they have feelings, and they're able to deal in the realm of things that men, especially men like myself, find unexplainable. Women have intuition.
Especially men like myself. That was weird. Especially men like myself. Like, we know you're a man. We got that. It's weird. Okay. So
find unexplainable. Women have intuition. Men see things a bit differently. Men want to measure everything. Women are not really that interested in measuring.
In what you're saying in macro terms, you actually think science, mathematics, maybe ultimately technology is moving to that more intuitive.
I think science and math are old-fashioned. And unfortunately, people are still taught that they have to learn algebra in school and certain things in school, as opposed to learning to have an emotion.
Is this what Larry Summers was trying to get at? Maybe he didn't say it perfectly enough, but what he was trying to get to in that system, the systems we study today, the way mathematics is either taught or understood, that women just haven't gotten up to the highest realms of engineering or physics or mathematics because of that. And you're actually implying that there's a either new branch of science, or we've hit an inflection point like in Newton that's going to go in Newton took mankind in a different direction because he was able to measure. Then you had subatomic, non-Newtonian physics later. Are you saying that you think there's another developing field that's coming up that may take us, I don't know how many decades to get our hands around, but that's what's evolving out of this?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I think that mathematics, it's not the end of science. Every year someone says it's the end of, we can't discover everything. There's lots to discover with a relationship to the physical world, but we know a lot already. In respect to the unexplainable world, we almost know nothing.
Isn't it weird, his fascination with that? Isn't it bizarre? He's just so fascinated with intuition, with how and men have it too, by the way, but whatever. Women have it in spades, I think, because we're the mamas. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna have it. But he's fascinated with it. And it almost seems as though he's fascinated. So he went from attraction, I don't know why I'm attracted to somebody. Then he went into creepy feelings. And I was like, that was weird. And then, because that was like a weird association thing for him. And he even said attracted to somebody. He didn't say women. And so that he didn't specify. So that was odd. And then he goes into trying to understand us, trying to understand intuition, trying to understand really what intuition is. And I think it's that tethering to God. I think it's that God feeling, the God essence part of us, the spirit talking to us and saying, this is truth, this is not truth, something's wrong with this person, be aware, and when you're living pretty good and you're doing pretty well in your life, and you have a relationship with your Heavenly Father, it's amazing how those feelings come and how you can understand those feelings. So all I'm saying is that it's strange. Okay. Now, caller, just stay on, because I have a caller, but I just want you to stay on for one more little clip. Okay. Then he goes into this and then talks about this. And if you remember some of the hunting parties that were ever talked about by people that died after talking about them, remember how kids, I had a woman on the show who talked about how the elite like them to run through the forest as they try to murder them. Okay. So here he immediately now goes into this.
You know, there's this argument that I reject that black people are less intelligent than white people. It's not true. We know, for example, that if I was in the forest and I had to run from the lion or figure out a way not to be eaten, and my competition is a local African, I'm the one who's getting eaten because they have the intelligence to deal with their local environment. So it's just different. It's not better, it's not worse, but there's many differences amongst different types of people. And so people have different intelligences and they excel in some intelligences usually and less so in others.
Why do I feel like things are used as guinea pigs, and why they're always studying people and studying us and studying things? And that's what kind of came across in that. And immediately he goes to that after the hunting parties have been talked about for years and years and years. And I think about all the whistleblowers on cannibalism and everything else, which that was a strange sort of, let me give you this analogy that I just pulled out of my hat. And I'm thinking, that's a weird analogy to just pull out of your hat. That's bizarre. So I thought that all three clips were weird and very telling about the things that they're interested in, right? We have to remember that. All right, caller, go right ahead. You're live. Oh, whoops. Hold on a second. 1 second. Let me get you hooked up here. For some reason, this fell out. Just a second. Just a second. Always takes a second. I don't have my glasses on, so it's a little harder to do. Hold on a second. Okay. Go ahead, caller.
Looking at the mind of a master criminal involved in murders, his network. They've been the largest pedophile network in the history of America. I mean, those files they talk about, all those murders. The baby was murdered. Trump was supposedly in the room when. And
I haven't heard that one, but okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
But I wanted to tell you about some things that are in the files that have been released so far that weren't redacted about Epstein. This is from Tree of Liberty last night, the training session. There's emails in there that indicate that he was very high up in the grand conspiracy. Some of the emails were asking him, I think they were trying to get somebody appointed as, in the current administration as ambassador, and they were going to him to try to get this person in the CFR. So that would suggest that he was involved on the committee or involved in determining who is allowed into the CFR.
Yeah.
CFR is considered, Council on Foreign Relations, considered the most powerful front organization of the grand conspiracy, at least it has been for 80 years. And also he talked about, he had to go to this is Epstein, I'll have to go to the chain of command on that. Chain of command is implying the conspiracy. This is a network we're involved. These are political matters, nothing had to do with the sex crimes and the murders and so forth.
Right.
So he's apparently was pretty high, is pretty high in the conspiracy. If he has power to help to determine who can enter this Council on Foreign Relations and who can't.
Interesting. Thank you for that. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Very interesting. Good call. Really good call. I think we need to study them like they study us. I think that there's things that we need to kind of turn the table on and understand. Maybe it'll give us a glimpse to a lot of things they were doing that didn't get talked about. You know, there's a lot of focuses within the released stuff, and honestly, I don't know what to trust and what not to. I'm kind of going through it with trying to be very discerning as I go through it all. So, because you don't know what was created and what wasn't. You don't know what they've worked on and what they haven't. And it's very weird, to tell you the truth. So, that's always on the forefront of my mind. And I played that pizza clip yesterday. I know we've been talking about that for like how many years now? Like 8 years, it seems like. the pizza thing, right? And it was interesting that when Trump was first running, he talked a lot about that. And he doesn't talk about that anymore. Have you guys noticed that? That was weird. It was like a shift. Doesn't talk about that anymore. He brought it up like 8 years ago, 10 years ago almost, but then it stopped. That's kind of interesting. So I always keep that in mind too, because in the back of my mind, there's always this sort of weird, how are we being played? How are we being played? That, and I have to say that because I think there's so many ways in which we're being played. And there's always every argument to every argument. Like every time I hear something, I'm like, okay, what does this mean? What does that mean? And flip it. Are we being conditioned in another direction instead of being told the truth? So there's a lot of that too. Let me play the pizza comments again. I just wanted you guys to hear this. I thought this was crazy. I played this yesterday. Here we go.
We would like to announce that.
Oh, sorry. That was an opening liner. Apologize. Okay.
Agree on anything anymore except for
Adam
two
Sandler.
things.
Adam Sandler.
Pizza
And Dwayne.
us. And us.
Dwayne The Rock.
Cruised down, went over to their house. They
Adam
made
Sandler.
us homemade pizza, and it was an amazing time. I sat next to Bono. It was a good day.
That is a good day.
It was handled.
She
Her
can.
parties are incredible at her
Yeah,
house, too.
Yeah, she does have good parties, and she makes good pizza as well.
She makes great pizza,
Wonderful,
yes, yes.
wonderful pizza.
Why are they always commenting about it? That is weird, you guys. Why are they always commenting about it? And I'm sorry. Well, let me play this clip.
All right. You really are a genuine fan, and it's amazing.
Jennifer Aniston.
We've known each other for years. Yeah. You've been to my house. We've had pizza. Girl after my own heart. Do we love a pizza or what? We love a pizza.
Do you really think Jennifer Aniston eats pizza? Do you think she actually eats pizza? No. It's really strange referencing. I don't get together with friends and then go, do you remember when we had taquitos? Like, do you love those taquitos? I love taquitos. Do you remember taquitos? Like, we don't say things like that to each other. Okay. Remember that enchilada we had? Yeah, that enchilada. Totally. Oh, so good. Do they ever talk about any other food in the same way? No. So there is something there, right? We know that because if you're gonna analyze, you got to look in context, and context means you have to say, okay, do they talk about other food this way? It comes up randomly and weirdly in conversations. This is just a few of them. Okay, there's many conversations like this, and it's always having to do with pizza. Here we go.
It's so good, so much fun.
He's not just a great vice president. He is a great friend. We've gotten so close in some places in Indiana, they won't serve us pizza anymore.
That was a weird clip by Obama. They won't serve us pizza anymore. Think about it for just a second. Because sometimes we run through these clips so fast that it's kind of hard to understand what we're being told here. Are any of them saying that about Mexican food or any other kind of food? Or nope, always pizza. Always pizza. It's always the reference.
Anymore.
The word pizza appears in the Epstein files 909 times.
Yeah, especially when he meets with Harry Fish. I kid you not, that's his name. Harry Fish, his erectile dysfunction doctor. And here's Tucker Carlson, who, by the way, is an asset. Just always remember that too. But here he is talking about an email exchange.
Says I'm back. Can call you in Stendra 100 at Zitmer. Now, Stendra is apparently an erectile dysfunction drug, and he's prescribing it to Jeffrey Epstein, who apparently needs it. And Epstein writes, how many? And the doctor writes back, 10. After you use them, let's go get pizza and grape soda. Call me.
Okay. And you know they're not eating pizza and grape soda. And grape soda is a really weird. People say things like, let's go grab a pizza. They don't go, let's go for pizza and grape soda. Okay. Whatever grape soda was. My mind can't go there sometimes because I have a really hard time understanding the mind psychopath Satanists, but here we are. So I say all this because I just wonder sometimes if we really, really stop to discuss what we're really hearing, there is something very strange to all of this. And like I said, they don't mention any other food, and you know Jennifer Aniston isn't eating pizza. Okay. The celebrities and their figures, and they're all on Ozempic. They are not eating pizza, I promise you. There's something very weird happening. So we know that. Okay, so let's substantiate that. And 900 times you're talking about pizza in these documents, right? And don't you ever wonder how much more code there is out there with these guys? Like when a certain interview happens or a movie happens, or remember I talked about Deal or No Deal, the TV show. Do you guys remember that? Because Trump was actually the final play of that game show, and everyone loved Trump at the time. And then Trump would come on and he'd be the final deal that you got to make if you got that high up. Okay. But I also talked about how the girls in the show with their cases were actually sellable prostitutes, were actually like prostituting themselves out for consumption amongst the elites. And the show was to showcase them, to kind of say, here's this new one. Here's this new one. What what do you, who wants this one? Case number, whatever, 16, whatever. So keep that in mind too, because I don't even think when anyone watched that, I know myself included, when I watched Deal or No Deal, 20 years ago, right? 15 years ago, that I never thought for a minute that there was code happening there, allegedly. Okay. And, but there's a reason that they chose these girls, and there was a reason they showcased them in the way that they did with numbers. So almost like cattle, like you're going to pick out a cattle. Okay. So how much more code is going on? And that's kind of what I've been thinking about lately. It's kind of like analyzing Epstein for all of the things that he's talking about, because what they're interested in is what they're going to talk about, right? And so what were they interested in studying, and for what reason? He was very interested in frequency. He was very interested in radio waves. He was very interested in studying intuition, probably because he wants to somehow duplicate it, right? You have intelligence that comes from God. You have, what does Satan have? Artificial intelligence. They even name it that. So it's in your face. Artificial intelligence, AI. Because anything Satan creates can only be the artificial product of what God actually creates. And they're so bold that they name it that. Okay. And it floats over everyone's heads because you think that it's just named AI. I don't even think the youth even think about what that actually means. Intelligence, artificial intelligence. They're exact opposite. Okay. Man-made construct is AI, coming from the minds of men and some psychopaths. So looking into the future, I have to analyze what kind of code is happening when movies come out or Oscar noms happen. And I promise you, it's not about being so hyper suspicious. It's not about that. It's just that I think we overlook things so much because it's very, very hard to see the forest for the trees. And sometimes we are so caught up in the trees, it's just so difficult to see where we're at. And if they're going to talk about pizza so much in such strange ways, and I know a lot of people watching like Adam Sandler, right? They love his movies, and it goes back to the 80s music, which I love, right? And things like that. But can we please see these people for who they are? You're never going to make it in Hollywood unless you're owned, maybe even produced by the elite. You're never going to make it. That's why they all have certain ideologies that match perfectly. And this is why they seem to have some of the biggest stars, and I've said this many times on the show, the same NGO focus, the same non-governmental nonprofit focus. So I've often wondered, is this money laundering going on, using the stars as puppets, as vehicles for the elite money laundering that actually owns the vehicles in which movies get produced and which celebrities get named and the same vehicle that owns the media. Okay. Oftentimes people that pretend to be Jewish but are not. So I throw that out there because sometimes the thinking mechanisms, like we're steered into what to think. It's hard to kind of think outside the box a little bit and go, gee, that's a little too coincidental. And I'm not a coincidence theorist. Okay. A lot of people out there are. And here's one more thing. And I mentioned this today when I talked about how many people around you have changed because of the COVID lie. How many people finally saw that they were being lied to? And that is, the truth will never be told by the masses. It will never appeal to the masses, ever. Truth never resides in the populace. Go back to Christ's time. Go back to Moses's time. Go back to Noah's time. The truth always resides in the smallest group. Okay? And that's why there were so few people that could really figure out the lie of COVID in the very beginning, because usually the populace, it's kind of like my husband always says, it's not the masses, it's the asses. Isn't that the truth? And I've said that before on the show. Sorry, not to repeat myself, but it's the truth. And it's always about if you're understanding truth, then it's not going to be spoken on Fox and CNN. It's not going to be coming out of your journalists. They're not really journalists. They're just paid repeaters. The people coming out and talking about things. The masses and what's being told and what's being driven and what the government always says to us is never going to be about truth. And the truth is always going to reside in the small numbers. So don't ever think that you're going to get everybody on board, because you're not. It can't happen. It just can't. It's just not built that way. Truth always, always resides in the few, not the many. And that's how you always can pick it out. That's how you always know. Isn't that interesting? So with that, let me think here. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention, and I want to get to everything. By the way, the show really needs your help. January, February, and July are the worst months for media that's truthful. Now, if I was repeating whatever all the other conservative talk show hosts were repeating, I'd be swimming in cash, honey. That's not the case. And so to keep this show on the air and to keep it functioning, it costs money. And I have to cover that. And so I am always appreciative if you go to katedalleyradio.com and you actually donate to the show, and you can send it via check, or you can use PayPal, kate@katedalleyradio.com. I really always appreciate it. And especially now, because these are the hardest months to get by, to function as a show. And I'll tell you, the shows that out there that struggle and are small, listen to them over the well-funded shows. And I'm talking about all the well-funded conservative talk show hosts. And, I know a lot of people like Dan, okay, Bongino, but there's a reason he was chosen to be in the club. And there was a reason he was chosen to be FBI director. And there was a reason that he went back into talk radio to fill a void of people needing their talk radio super hosts. It's how the media works. And he's part of the club. You're going to get some truth, and then you're going to get misdirection. It's just how they all work. It's just what they do. And we can't control it. So then we just have to discern and learn from that, please. Okay. So all part of the club. And you have the leftist loonies. You've got the leftists that have manned the whole media empire. And then you have the people on the right who are also controlled, just in a totally different way. Not a totally different way, but they'll speak a lot more truth than the mainstream, but they do have their misdirection. So, okay. And I've said that endlessly on the show. One of the other things that I wanted to mention, okay, was the Guthrie case. Now, all of you have heard about Savannah Guthrie's mom, okay, and now there's sort of, I think today it was, there's 6, let's see, what is it? 6 images, masked men, The FBI releases 6 still images and 3 videos recovered from the back-end system showing an armed individual tampering with Nancy Guthrie's front door camera on February 1st, okay? And then it says this comment, and this is why I'm saying anything about it. It's very weird that they didn't show this from the beginning. It's been 10 days, and they're just now showing this picture of a masked gunman. Okay. Anyway, it's this, and pay attention to this because these are the nuances that we always miss, right? FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed the images had been inaccessible due to factors, including the removal of recording devices. Number one, the images had been inaccessible due to factors, including the removal of recording devices. I'm sorry, they went into that house and had full knowledge and full control over what happened to those devices from minute one. So I don't think they were inaccessible. And I'm wondering if they were even created, but there's another part of my suspicion. Yet this is the one thing that everybody should be pointing out. FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed the images. Now I want you to ask yourself this. Why in the world is Kash Patel involved? Okay, let's think about that for just a moment. This is a state case, Arizona, I believe, right? Why is the FBI involved? And why isn't it even explained anymore? See, now, one thing that I want you to notice is that they used to always explain why the FBI had to be brought in. And now they don't. They just say the FBI's on this case. And have you noticed that any big case, the FBI's on it? Like the Charlie Kirk case should have been a Utah case completely, right? Because right now they're trying to get millions of dollars passed for that, even though he's a total patsy. Okay, so they're trying to get money, $2 million on the defense to try, because they're saying that they have to pay for the offense and the defense, I'll put it that way, in the courtroom, okay, over the patsy. Tyler Robinson, he's a patsy. He didn't do it. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. Okay, so with that being said, okay, why is it that the FBI is involved? Why is the FBI involved in every case with notoriety? That's interesting. You should wonder that, because if it happens in a state and it's not a crime, because now we could talk about the constitutional legality, because the FBI really has no constitutional basis for existence. Okay? It's completely illegal to have the FBI. Each state should cover their own. And if you cover each state, that's the entire whole of the United States. Okay? So push that aside for just a second. But even the FBI says we can only come in if something crosses lines, like if the criminal goes to 3 different states or 2 different states, now we get to come in. Now, let's push aside the fact that that's kind of a lie, because it's not actually truth. That's not truth. They're illegal, because our Constitution never said they could exist ever. Okay, this is not. We should never have a federal police division that takes over our state police. Okay, but isn't it interesting that every notable case, every case with notoriety, involves the FBI automatically? Do you find that strange? I do. And you know what it really tells me? Sad to say, but I'm always wondering if it's because there's a lot of fakery involved, and they have to cover the fakery. So you got to put it in the hands of the feds, because too many eyeballs within the state, right, could be a problem. if a lot of, and I'm not saying all, but if a lot of the notoriety cases are faked. I'm just going to throw that out there, food for thought. I'm not saying that's 100% true. It's just crossed my mind. Because you have to have a certain set of eyeballs, right? I mean, Kash Patel, however you want to say it, on our right, people usually give him a pass because we have a Republican president and a Republican staff, right? A Republican nominated team of people heading these organizations. But that should lead you to another thought, and that is, if we were truly on the right side of things, then why aren't they poking holes through their own divisions of illegal, the illegal entirety of departments that should not exist? If our right is on the right side of patriotism, which I know a lot of you, including myself, have always been on the right because I can't think like a leftist. But on the right, we don't expect them. This is our problem. This is where we come in. We don't expect them to dismantle themselves. General Flynn didn't dismantle the agency he was over. Kash isn't pointing any direction towards, hey, this is illegal. Kristi Noem isn't saying, hey, the Department of Homeland Security shouldn't exist. None of these people are saying, hey, we need to pull this back. Now that we're in full charge of this, now that we have these agencies, why are we not removing them? Why are we not dismantling them in front of the public? Why are we not dismantling the public education system? Why are we not doing any of that? We keep shoring all of it up. So we keep doing that to our own demise. I just want to make sure we all understand that. That's crazy. That's insanity. Didn't you expect? So when everyone was saying the deep state's going now, the deep state's all on stage for the inauguration, but we seem to think on the right, which I keep poking holes through, that hey, if the deep state's on the stage celebrating the presidency and the election, maybe we're not getting rid of the deep state. Maybe, just maybe. It's just nonsensical. Okay. So I would imagine that we'd be poking holes through all of this and saying all of this and saying, okay, let's get rid of all this. Let's pare it down to limited government, the way it was formed. More liberty back to the people. But we're not. We're only getting worse surveillance. You know, I was looking at the systems that put in. Okay, let's go back to 2020 for a second. I'm going to shift gears here for a second. Okay, okay. I'm going to make a note so I can do this. Okay, so in 2020, they put in all the lights, the new lights on the freeways. Have you noticed these monstrosities, these things? Okay, and they have cameras in them. They have surveillance in them. They have all of these things, okay? Now, they were putting those in 2020 when Trump was still in office, okay? Because Trump was over Operation Warp Speed and COVID and everything else, okay? Now, I have to give him a little bit of credit. He was trying to poke a hole in the very beginning of COVID, saying, wait a minute, we're shutting down a nation. Why are we doing this? Because I remember the tape, I played it. And he was like, why are we shutting down the nation? This is weird. What's going on here? So he did poke some sort of hole in it, although he didn't fully, but he actually opened the door. Okay. Because at the time we closed up the nation, we only had, I think 15 whole deaths that they contributed to COVID, which was a lie. Because it was the flu. But anyway, so at least he opened the door. And I remember talking about that at the time. And then I remember him doing a couple of things like that where he had Fauci on stage and then basically took Fauci out of the thing. So there were a couple things. Okay. Could have been way better, but there was a couple of things. So they put in, for some reason, we had a shortage on toilet paper. Okay. We had a shortage on toilet paper. But we didn't have a shortage on a couple of things. And let me tell you what they were in 2020. Okay. We didn't have a shortage on signage that said stand 6 feet apart, although next to each other, you could be right next to each other, but you have to stand. Sorry, I just can't believe people believe this. 6 feet to each, you'd stand on a circle. Okay. Like we're 3 years old. You got to stand on a colored circle. Okay. And they didn't have any problem producing that signage. They didn't have any problem producing the shots. They had them all ready to go. They had been producing them for quite a while to have as many as they needed. And then through the year, there was absolutely zero shortage on any shot materials. Okay. Not a single bit of shortage on that. Not a single bit of shortage on remdesivir being produced. Isn't that amazing? Said no one ever. Okay. And they also didn't have any shortage on 5G being propped up, okay, and put up, and the street lamps, the brand new street lamps, for some reason picking 2020 and 2021 as an unveiling of these weird street lamps. Look at them when you're going down, when you're flying down the freeway, go look at them because they're affixed with cameras, surveillance, all kinds of stuff. And I mean all kinds of stuff. So keep your eye on that because all of that went in 2020 when supposedly they didn't have any type of, any type of anything. They didn't have any type of, let me put it this way. Why did we need them? And why did they have to come out in 2020? Were they doing it so no one would notice? Because, if you're out and about, out of your house and you're watching all this happen and you're looking at all this stuff going up, you're probably going to be a little like, well, wait a minute here. Why is all this going up? I don't understand. Why is this happening here? Doesn't even make any sense, right? So there's certain things about that are really kind of crazy that we had enough in supply and that they were put up everywhere when everyone was basically inside their homes. Now, I did want to mention that along with this, the two main companies that were heading this up, there was a lot of different companies, but Leotech, Acuity Brands, Leotech, GE Current, Cree, Hubble, Leotech, and Signify, which is Philips, were all contributing to this. And BlackRock and Vanguard have huge stakes in these companies. Big stakes in these companies. Leotech comes right out of Silicon Valley. These people had no problem in a very locked down state at the time. California had zero problem getting their hands on all these supplies to make all these lights and hire the crews to put them in, which was being done a lot at night. Okay. Just making sure we're all aware of that. Some of these names I'm already recognizing as CIA funded companies, but okay. I just wanted to mention that because it does get a little weird, doesn't it? So there's that. And I think that's really actually quite bizarre, to tell you the truth. Quite bizarre. So I actually want to add an image to the screen right here. And I thought this was a very interesting image of the tentacles that are in place right now. And so I'm going to put it on screen. So if you get a chance, go to YouTube, go to Rumble, go to X, and you'll be able to see this chart. I found this chart to be so fascinating. While I'm getting this chart, I just okay, here we go. I also wanted to tell you a couple of things too. Right now, I am drinking Cardio Miracle. Why? Because it helps me lose weight, which I've been doing. And it also keeps me full. And it also delivers the fruits and veggies. And I used to do a product for like 7-8 years that was fruits and veggies. This is 20 times the fruits and veggies. This one, Cardio Miracle, cardiomiracle.com/Kate. Go get this. Go get this. You need the vitamin D that this gives you. Oh my gosh, what a lifesaver. And all the fruit, all the nitric oxide going into your system and all the veggies. And it's so worth it, but do 2 doses a day. That's how you get the benefits. And also Formula AIQ please go there and get supplements from them. They are amazing, amazing, amazing. Also, the Dr. Ardis Show. It's just DR, thedrartisshow.com. You can use the code word Kate now, and you can get his liquid D3 K2. It's amazing. I actually add that in anyway into this when I'm drinking it. And I also have a couple of his supplements that are truly amazing. They're so good. I also do the patch every day, the 3 milligram patch every day. And that is on the ticker on YouTube. So let me go ahead. I'm going to bring you to this screenshot here. So let me maybe put it back on here. Okay. So this screenshot right here. And if you're just watching, I'm going to basically kind of talk you through this a little bit. Hold on a second. Let me grab it. Let me grab it. Okay. So we have the administration, which it doesn't matter whether it's blue or red administration, and all this stuff goes forward. So this isn't picking apart a party or shoring up a party. This is about what is going on all the time in government. So in the middle, you have Kids Online Safety Act. And then above that, you have the administration, okay, presidency. You have tokenization on the top. You have anti-Semitism laws going into place because the people that pretend to be Jewish, that use the Jewish people, which I hate because I actually have friends that are Jewish. I have no problem with Jewish people whatsoever. I just don't like people using them. And we have a lot of people in the Israeli government that are using them and pretending to be Jewish. So we have these new anti-Semitism laws because if you can say anti-Semitism, then they like to hide behind that. That's why they've shorted up this whole time and never talked about the Holodomor, the killing of Christians. It's always about the Holocaust because they have to be able to say, if you critique or say anything about the Israeli government, they hide behind the anti-Semitism laws. Okay. If you don't know what the Holodomor is, go look it up. Go look it up, please. Happened in the early 1900s, Ukraine, the wiping out of Christians. Okay. So then you go down, it's the Builders for Tomorrow. You have the ADL, you have AI in here. I'm hitting all the red buttons here. The data centers, you have the stable coins, the digital ID. Okay. So the administration passed digital ID laws. We also have a requirement to use digital ID. Also, when you're flying, if anyone has booked a flight to Europe, you're going to notice a couple of things. Number one, starts with an E and now I can't remember the name of it, but there's a new program that you have to apply for. Did you know this? Your passport isn't good enough. You have to apply for this new program if you're going to go to certain countries, especially over in Europe. You have to apply and you have to be able to get sanctioned to travel. So they're saying, go ahead and do that before you buy your ticket now, because it goes into effect at the end of the year. Yeah. So there's that. And then of course you have digital ID, and then you have the Genius Act that went through. And I've had many guests on that permits cryptocurrencies to function at their own reserve private bank. It creates a one-to-one backing of dollars, treasury bonds, facilitates adoption and use of cryptocurrency. You have all of these things going in right now. What's everybody debating? Epstein. The only reason I even played Epstein today, to tell you the truth, is because there's a couple of things there that I thought were intriguing to study or to even look at what they study. Maybe what went on in the Santa Fe thing, maybe what was going on in the underground of that island. There are things that they're doing, things that they're studying, and things that they are doing that probably are there. The trafficking seems to kind of take up the space in the room, but I think there were a lot of other things happening even besides the trafficking. So there's lots of other things, lots of studying of people and children. I think there's a lot more using people as guinea pigs to find things out, because if you're going, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but if you're going to play God without God, you're going to try to do and recreate anything that he produces, then you're going to study people and frequency and all of these crazy things because you want to be able to create them yourself. Okay, I'll take a quick call. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, actually, what you've been covering today all has an integrated or intrinsic it's actually an intrinsic system.
Uh-huh.
One of the reasons that Epstein was so focused on radio frequencies,
Mhm.
et cetera,
Mhm.
is, well, one, he was past feeling, and he wanted to understand how to manipulate conscience,
Mhm.
so that either he could selectively reactivate it,
Ah.
or if he could selectively deaden it in other people,
Mhm.
so that he could literally, anyway. And then the radio technology
Uh-huh.
would basically be the vector to manipulate people
Mhm.
as far as
Yes.
conscience was concerned.
Mhm.
So basically, what it was a project for turning humanity into remote control
Mhm.
biological platforms.
Okay. Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
what he wanted to.
Well, thanks.
That's what he
Appreciate
was
it.
so obsessed
Yeah.
with it.
Thank
for.
you.
Anyway.
I love the phone call. Thank you. That was great. That was great. Great calls today. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, we have to kind of go further, not only look with discernment to see what's true and what's not coming out of the files, but also to go a little further into maybe what they were studying and doing. And don't get stuck on the human trafficking, because I think that's actually a smaller part of this. I do. I think they do really evil things and very creepy things. And that's why he immediately talked about attraction and then creepy feelings, because he's creepy himself. Okay. So he's trying to understand how people think he's creepy. Well, by their fruits you shall know them. So there's more there. And that's what I'm trying to get to, is the more, because I'm feeling like a lot of people are stuck on the trafficking, but they can't go beyond that. So something else is happening here. And this chart that I'm showing you right now is truly about, like the anti-Semitism laws. When did those start getting pushed? When the October 7th thing happened in Israel, where you can't get anything across that border, not even a piece of paper, without them knowing it. We've given them a ton of money. They know exactly what's on the border. No shock. And when people started criticizing that, all of a sudden the flood of anti-Semitism laws, see how that works? And of course, what's called Builders for Tomorrow. See, this chart, okay? The Kids Online Safety Act in the middle, the data centers on the bottom. Did you guys notice data centers are going in everywhere, in all kinds of cities, and people are speaking out about them? It's a lie that they need the water, and that they're definitely going to, I think, that they're definitely going to up your utilities by putting these data centers everywhere. You're going to have visual proof of these data centers' existence. But the idea of them getting utilities first and you second, you getting utilities doled out to you and paying more for them, will be the lie. Okay? Think about how much data is stored right now. And they don't need the data centers. I don't think they need the data centers. I think it's foolery. I think it's fakery. I would actually go as far as to say, I think the data centers are going to be future prisons for the people that they declare as mental health problems that don't believe in the government. And the reason I say that isn't just based on, I think this idea hits. No, it's because they've already changed the verbiage for which they call somebody that doesn't believe in the government as a delusion, as a mental disorder in the new mental health diagnosis. So that just started, and we had money put into the CARES Act to build mental health facilities. I think the data centers will be turned into that. I don't think they actually need the data centers to house more data. We went from a computer this big to a phone, okay? To a watch, okay? I don't have one, but one of those. We don't need giant data centers for data. It's a lie. It's a lie. I used to believe the lie. I used to think that we did. I don't think we do at all. I actually think that it's not true. And I think they're going to utilize the data centers and incessantly, mark my words, incessantly talk about the usage of utilities, just like they said in Davos. Larry Finch, hold on, caller. Just like they said at Davos, that your utilities, your water, your electricity are now secondary because the data center has to have them first. That should tell you volumes. This isn't just a theory. That should tell you that they're going to raise the cost, trying to get you out of your home because it's going to be too expensive to live with those high utility costs. And you're going to get doled out water, and you're going to get doled out shower time, and you're going to get doled out utilities. So I'm just telling you that we need to start making plans for that, because I think that's in the works right now. These data centers are cropping up everywhere, and it's really scary because the people are fighting it, but they're not fighting it for the lies that are being told. They're just fighting them, which is good. Fight them. But I don't think there's a lot of people that understand the deception behind the data centers. Okay, caller, go right ahead.
Well, hey, Kate, how
Hey.
are you?
I'm good. I know a show like this is very loaded and crazy and goes a lot of directions, but I'm actually okay. I'm actually good.
No, I love it. I appreciate it. I don't know because I missed a little bit, but so you may have talked about this already.
Uh-huh.
When Epstein, they've got a couple different pictures of Epstein and at a Harvard University classroom. And I'm believing that this may have been where the recording happened, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But he also has in that room Steve Bannon. So the interesting question that came to my mind when I saw that was this was in the middle of like 2014, 2015, 2016. And I'm wondering, since all of this is probably, they're trying to figure out how to do a mind manipulation on people, whether it is victims or whether it is, politicians, world leaders. What if, and I'm just going to throw this out there.
Okay.
This is all before MAGA happened, right? So if they are trying to do frequencies and they're trying to manipulate perception and alter society, which we know that that's overarching, what if the big MAGA push was actually part of this experiment?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. 100%.
And how long have they been working on that? Because, obviously they are very, very good at changing societal perception.
Yeah.
I mean, you've covered this in depth with the 60s and all these different eras. They've just, upped their game. And now we've got, radio frequency towers in every single state that are connected to NORAD. So
You're right. I love the points. Yes. Thank you. Really appreciate it. I think great call. I think one of the most important things for people to understand that I think is really hard to wrap your head around is that when they were building MAGA, it was all about building martyrdom. Okay. I read a thing today that got sent to me and it was for a guest. Okay. So in radio and in being in media, you get sent possible guests from publishers. Okay. And it said, he cheated death. He, lived through this, he lived through that and sent by God. And he's about to do the biggest thing ever. And it's going to have to do with digital ID. Okay. But he's going to do it for us. And this is going to be amazing. And he's going to be a legend. It's the making of a legend because he lived through the trials. He lived through the bullet. He lived through this. He lived through that. Now, this is the hardest thing, I think, for people to finally understand. And once you see it, it's really hard to unsee. Sorry. When I called it out in 2022, really, I was really insistent in 2022 that Trump was going to go back in and that the trials weren't real. They were CIA dummy courts, and that everything was going to shift towards Trump again because they had to make us complacent for what was coming. I couldn't unsee it at that point. And I had to share with the audience that this is what I think. Now, that took me off of a lot of talk shows. See, I was guesting on a lot of shows. That took me off because you can't say that. you can't bring that to light. So bad Kate. So when you're asking those bigger, deeper questions about the two parties, you're not really allowed to do that in media. So in media, you're either on the right or the left. Anyone in between asking some pretty solid questions. Because I told people, I said, look, the trials, they're going to just poof, go away. And they were shammy anyway. We all knew that, right? They were ridiculous and didn't follow any laws. And so we all knew they were shammy, but that wasn't the bigger problem. The bigger problem was that it was a lie from the beginning and that the 4 trials were a lie. But that's all we heard about for 2 solid years. Kind of like the Epstein files. We're going to hear about this all year. For 2 solid years, all we heard about was the trials. So people were calling in and they were asking me, but why are they doing that? But why? Why do you think that? Why are they doing that then? Because the line, the feed we were supposed to understand, okay, the narrative was the deep state's after Trump. That's what everybody was saying. Okay. So everyone on the right in conservative radio was like, the deep state is after Trump. They are relentless. And here's this poor guy with no family, because none of the family was there. Not even Melania, right? And here's this poor guy sitting in court, and he's sitting in court and he's all alone, and the deep state's after him, and they're doing all these ridiculous things to bring him down. Okay. So I said, well, what if there's CIA dummy courts? And then I had people saying, well, what would be behind that? And I said, because in order to push the lie that the parties are different and that an outsider can get in at that level of the presidency, then you have to make it look like the deep state's after him. And then they're going to use Christianity. They're going to use Christianity to say that this is all God putting him in. Okay. And that he's there by the grace of God. And when the bullet thing happened, we never have heard more about the shooter, right? And that little kid couldn't have pulled that off. Anyway, when that happened, immediately I went on the air and I was like, this is a lie. They're lying. That this whole event is shammy. Like something's wrong with this whole event. And I pointed out a lot of things that shored up my point, okay, and why I thought that. So it wasn't just coming out of nowhere. I wasn't just grasping, okay? It was very thought out. When I was going through the whole event, I thought something's very wrong with this event. Okay. And people got mad at me and yelled at me and cursed at me and called me up and cursed at me and all kinds of stuff happened. And I was like, but something's wrong with this, because they were building the MAGA unit back up. Then they wanted us to believe that the deep state who put and selected King Dingaling in, okay, even though the nation did not want him, because things were moving along pretty good. The core of the nation was pretty happy. They put Dingaling in, lied that he was the most important president and the most popular president of all time, which was one of the biggest lies they could have ever told. He was one of the most hated. No one respected him, not even Obama. They all dissed on him. Okay. They put him in, put in Hormala as a sidekick. Okay. The worst of the worst. They presented us with the worst of the worst of the worst, because that was that big of a joke that the deep state could go in, turn the tide, turn the software into making him some sort of winner, and then telling us he was the most popular. They put him in so we could build up the MAGA thing again, so that when they put Trump in, because people honestly thought, now think about this, there's no common sense to this whatsoever. The deep state can put Dingaling in, but the deep state took a break and let the voting speak for itself in 2024 and didn't intervene, and the people were finally heard. You don't really believe that, do you? You don't believe the deep state is going to take a little break, right? A little break, little coffee break, little hot chocolate break. They're just going to go away, and they'll be back in 2028. We don't believe that, right? That can't be believable in any sense of the word. So when I brought all this up and I said, they're building a martyr. We're going into martyrdom because if you speak against this on the right, you're going to be trashed. And if you speak against, if you point out that the left and the right are completely owned and have been for 100 years, on both stages, you're out as a media person. So the building up of martyrdom is really a big deal. And it's something that we probably should see, because if you really analyze what happened and take away the belief, the silly belief that the deep state just didn't intervene, okay, and why somebody would run for president if you know it's fixed, you would never do that. Now, I know I've said this many times in the show, and I don't mean to repeat myself, but for any new listeners, they really do need to hear this. You can't keep telling that lie, okay, that we voted and our votes were heard and the nation spoke and then Trump went in. Because if you're Trump, you would never spend money to run again if you know that it's fixed, unless you're part of what's happening. Now, look at this chart, okay? All these things going in, data centers, the tokenization, more anti-Semitism laws so you can't critique the government of Israel. I'm not talking about the people. Leftists like to hate on the whole thing, okay? I'm not a leftist. So I'm hating on their government because you know all the governments are controlled, okay? The Genius Act that went through, the Digital ID, the Kids Online Safety Act, okay? For many people that think that the Kids Online Safety Act is all about kid safety, it is not, okay? It is about the beginnings of the complete and utter takeover of the internet by government. It's just they always have to have some sort of Trojan horse to get in, okay? Clarity Act, Operation Stargate, the data centers down here. This chart's online. You can see it if you go to YouTube, X, or Rumble. Builders for Tomorrow, the ADL. Yeah, all of this, okay? And there's explanations for each one of them. All this is still going in, you guys. So you know everyone's part of the club, knowingly or not knowingly, part of the club. And I say that because a lot of people do not know they're part of the club. They just do what they're told. Okay. So with all that said today, I had so many different places to go. Ask ourselves why the FBI is consistently and always involved in cases of notoriety. Why is that? This should always be a state case. Always. FBI has no place, okay? But they've inserted themselves, and now they get people to buy into that insertion constantly. And FBI is pretty much running the show. And what does the media do? The media is told to constantly ask the FBI for what they say about a certain case, okay? About cases in general. And so we're constantly brainwashed into thinking that the FBI is truly our police system and the state police are only there for traffic. Okay, that's not constitutional at all. You should ask yourselves why we do not have a dismantling of all these agencies that are not legal. The Department of Homeland Security isn't legal. The well, I could, oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, what do I do? Sit here and name them all? But we have so many of them. Why are we not dismantling them? Do people out there still think that we are dismantling the deep state every day? We're not. We are taking orders from the deep state. The government is building spying apparatuses. We are not getting rid of them. We're not getting rid of the NSA. Ask Tulsi. I interviewed Tulsi. We're not getting rid of the NSA. The NSA is only bigger and stronger. Homeland Security is only bigger and stronger. Homeland Security has no legal right to be there. It's like something they made up, and they put it in because of 9/11, and no one asked. Start looking at all those false flags. And honestly, I do want to know if you know at least 5 people that have actually realized they were completely scammed with COVID, because that is a lie that should have woken a lot of people up. And I truly want to know how many of you actually know people that woke up because of that, especially in the medical, like doctors and nurses. I'm not finding a lot of doctors and nurses that truly understand the lie. Sadly. Okay. Also donate to the show, and I would really appreciate that. Keep me on the air and keep me analyzing all of this. And the whole Epstein thing, look at what they talk about the most, because it's very telling. Look to all the things that they're interested in. Experimentation, frequency, because that's coming up for us. We don't realize that. Okay. People, when I used to mention that on the show, people go, conspiracy theorist. Like, frequency is real. So, just ask Nikola Tesla, who they destroyed. There's so much happening right now. And I know that there's a lot of competition for what you need to study and what you really need to look at. But we really need to look at the narratives and the distractions right now. And we're going to be seeing, because of the anti-Semitic laws going into place, we're going to be seeing more and more and more coming out of Israel's government, who I think is very co-opted. And you're going to see a lot more wars and rumors of wars coming out of there. Not anywhere else, just there, unfortunately. So there's a reason for all the things that they put into place and do. Not allowed to question their government. Right? I was told in radio, don't ever talk about Israel. Tucker has the same kind of comment from James Carville. They were on a plane together, he said. Now, Tucker's an agent, by the way. But he said, James Carville said, don't ever talk about Israel if you want to keep your kids in college, if you want to get your kids to college. And if you like the money, if you like the situation, do not talk about Israel. And that's how it's been in radio. Not for every media person, but in talk radio specifically. Okay? That was the longest rant I've done in a while. Is it? Sorry about that, but there was just so much to cover, and I didn't even get to LED. I had LED on the docket and I didn't even get there. Okay. Really appreciate you guys. Please go to katedalleyradio.com. Look at the sponsors, because I handpick them and they're amazing. Also, really, really appreciate you supporting the show, because there's very few people like me who actually do truth in media and will poke at both sides and actually want to tell the truth. I've just, being in media for 16 years, I've noticed a lot of people just can't do it. So thank you for that. Thank you for all your support. Really appreciate you, and donate to the show, because at least you're donating to keeping something online that will, no matter what happens, no matter what false flag or fake disease we get thrown at us, or what keeps getting showered on us from the air, you will know that I will be here telling the truth. So you can always turn to me, and I will always probably say things that the mainstream right and left are not saying. So, here I am. What can I say? Be faithful, be fearless. You can find out why I say that at katedalleyradio.com. Really appreciate you tuning in. I will make shorts of today's podcast or live show so that you can play those for friends. Appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.